Hi everyone, welcome to Storytime this week. Today we are going to be doing stories with the word duck in them. And ducks are such fun animals. They like to waddle around the ground. They like to go swimming in ponds. They fly overhead and they're really fun sometimes to just sit and watch. But let's go ahead and take a look at our letters this week. We start off with our D, and that makes the D sound like down or dog. And then we have the U, and remember we had U last week, and that makes the sound like up and under. Then we have our C and our K, and today they're both going to be making the same sound. They're right next to each other, and they're both going to make the K sound. But we're going to give you some words for both of them. So the C, we've got the K sound like can and care. And then K, we also have the K sound like kite or kick. So remember, we're going to sound it out. We're going to go k. And if we say it fast, it's duck. All right, great job, guys. Well, before we do our stories, let's go ahead and do our hello song. Remember, friends, it's going to go hello, friends, hello, friends, hello, friends. It's time to say hello. Ready? Hello, friends. Hello, friends. Hello, friends. It's time to say hello. All right. Well, we're going to do things a little bit different this week. I'm going to do a book first and then our flannel story. So let me scooch in here so everyone can see our pictures. We are going to be reading Duck and Goose, and this is written and illustrated by Tad Hills, and it was published by Penguin Random House. All right. Oh my, what is that? Duck quacked. That is a silly question, Goose honked. It's a big egg, of course. Of course it is an egg. I know that, huffed Duck. What I mean is, where did it come from? Goose looked skyward. He looked to the river. He looked to the fields, and he thought very hard. Who are you? He asked finally. I, said Duck, puffing out his feathered chest, am the one whose egg this is. I saw it first. Goose quickly raised one webbed foot. It's mine, he said. I touched it first. Hey, you should never put your dirty foot on an egg, Duck scolded. Don't you know anything about caring for eggs? Yes, I do, Goose cried out. Stop yelling, Duck yelled, then whispered forcefully, don't you know that you and your screaming are very likely disturbing the baby bird who's trying to take a snooze inside this egg? Goose wished that Duck wasn't right. He lowered his head and whispered softly, I'm very sorry. Go back to sleep in there. My, that is quite a beauty you have, called a blue bird from across the river. Thank you. It's mine, quacked Duck. Actually, it's mine, honked Goose. Thank you. So, asked Duck, what do we do now? We should do something, suggested Goose. Yes, you are right. Good thinking. Like what? Agreed Duck. Duck and Goose each thought. Well, We must keep the egg warm until the fuzzy little occupant is ready to come out, said Goose. Excellent idea, exclaimed Duck. He pushed past Goose. Step aside and I shall do just that. But Goose was quick too. After a flurry of fussing, grunting and groaning, slipping and sliding, honking and quacking, Duck and Goose found themselves back to back. Scoot over. I don't have any room, complained Duck. You are much closer to me than I am to you. Stop yelling in my ear, Goose. Shh, Goose hushed, pointing at the round thing beneath them. Yes, 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 we must remember. Quiet, quiet, quiet. We mustn't disturb the little one. And so they sat very still and very quiet, waiting. For a long time they waited. They listened to the crickets chirp and the frogs burp. I'm going to teach this baby bird to quack like a duck, Duck boasted. Well, I'm going to teach it to honk like a goose, Goose honked back. I'm going to teach this baby bird to waddle, Goose added. So am I, said Duck. They heard the pitter-patter of rain. I'm going to teach this baby bird to swim, Duck said. Me too, said Goose. To pass the time, they snipped wildflowers in the warm sun and shared breadcrumbs while Goose taught Duck to honk. They watched the sun set in the sky, and Duck taught Goose how to quack. They counted the stars in the night sky. Let's teach our baby to fly, said Goose. Good idea, said Duck. I'm sure our baby will be a fast learner, said Duck. If it takes after you and me, you sure are right, agreed Goose. Together they waited until... Did you feel that, Duck? Duck nodded. Yes. Did you feel that, Goose? Goose nodded. It's time, Goose. It's time, squawked Duck. Quickly, Duck slid down and started running in circles around their egg. What should we do now? He hollered. I think we should remain calm, Goose yelled back. Excuse me? A little voice called out. Duck stopped. In all of the exciting confusion, he had failed to notice the blue bird kicking their egg. Can I play too? She asked. Play? This is no time for play, yelled Duck. This is no time for games, yelled Goose. And what's with the kicking? I was only trying to get your attention, said the little bird. Well, you got it, Duck huffed. False alarm, Goose. Back to work. Can't you see that we are very busy here, Goose explained to the blue bird. This is serious business. This is perhaps the most important moment of our lives. Oh my, I am sorry, apologized the bluebird. I had no idea. I just thought maybe I could play with your ball. It really is a nice one, she added, and then she flew away. Goose gulped. Did she say ball? He whispered to Duck. You know, I did have my doubts, Duck finally said. It is a bit squishier than most eggs I've seen. Yes, and I must say I was somewhat suspicious of those big dots, Goose admitted. It may not be an egg, but it is lovely, said Duck. Oh, absolutely, Duck, Goose agreed. It's a keeper. As the crickets chirped and the frogs burped, the grass swayed in a gentle breeze, Goose quacked and Duck honked, and the ball bounced, rolled, and sometimes even flew. The end. Guys, Duck and Goose were sitting on a ball and they thought it was an egg. Those goofy little birds. Well, we have a great song up for you guys. And I'm going to need to back on up. So I'll show you how it goes. And then we'll go through it together, okay? Back up so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. So it goes. All the little ducks go upside down, upside down, upside down. All the little ducks go upside down as they dabble at the bottom of the pool. All the little ducks go snap, 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 snap. All the little ducks go snap, snap, snap as they dabble at the bottom of the pool. All the little ducks go wiggle, 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 wiggle. All the little ducks go wiggle, wiggle, wiggle as they dabble at the bottom of the pool. All right, guys. So that song is the same one that we use for Wheels on the Bus. So if it sounds familiar, that's maybe why you know it. So let's go ahead and go through it together, okay? All the little ducks go upside down, upside down, upside down. All the little ducks go upside down as they dabble at the bottom of the pool. All the little ducks go snap, 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 snap. All the little ducks go snap, snap, snap as they dabble at the bottom of the pool. All the little ducks go wiggle, 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 wiggle. All the little ducks go wiggle, wiggle, wiggle as they dabble at the bottom of the pool. All right. Great job, guys. So that song is all about what ducks do when they're trying to eat. So they go upside down and put their heads underwater and they go ahead and they snap the beaks and that's how they eat things up. They go underwater and they snap their beaks around and they get all the yummy, tasty plants and algae and then they give themselves a little wiggle because they're so happy that they got to eat some tasty treats. Well, our last story is one you might know and it is called The Ugly Duckling. One day, a mama duck was watching her eggs hatch, and each one hatched a little baby duck, and they were fluffy and yellow and perfect and beautiful. Mama duck looked at all of her kids and said, "My, what beautiful ducklings I have." Then she noticed there was one egg that hadn't hatched. It was bigger and browner than the rest of them, but slowly it started to hatch, and out popped another duckling. Well, this duckling did not look beautiful like the rest of her ducklings. It had big clunky feet, gray feathers, and a long, long neck. And Mama Duck looked at it. She's like, well, I guess they couldn't all look perfect and yellow and fuzzy and small. But she wanted to be a good Mama Duck. So she went and she took all of her ducks around the farm and swimming. They went through the farm and they passed many animals. The ugly duckling was feeling a little self-conscious about himself because he didn't look like all of his siblings. But it only grew worse when Mama Duckling let them pass the cow. "Moo, moo, what an ugly duckling you are," said the cow. Well, the ugly duckling just kept walking. And they went past the horse. "Nay, nay," said the horse. "My, what beautiful ducklings you have, Mrs. Duck." But then Horse caught sight of the ugly duckling. "Except for you. You're an ugly duckling, aren't you?" Poor ugly duckling had his feelings really hurt. He went past the pig, and it was the same. "Oink, oink. What an ugly duckling." They went past the sheep, and again, "Bah, bah," said the sheep. "My, most of them look like nice normal ducks, but that one there sure is ugly," she said. Well, Ugly Duckling was feeling very sad at this point and decided to walk away. Well, time went on and nobody wanted to play with the Ugly Duckling. They played with all of his siblings, but not him. So Ugly Duckling decided that he was going to run away. Well, he ran away and he decided to go live and hide in the marsh. Well, he was all alone there and he tried to make friends with some of the other ducks that lived there, but even the wild ducks did not want to be his friends. So Ugly Duckling ran away through the woods to a pond. He spent a long time there, and he was there all by himself for a long time. One day, poor little Ugly Duckling looked up in the sky and saw 3 swans going past. Oh, he looked up at those swans and their beautiful white feathers and their beautiful long necks, and he thought about himself and he said, "Man, I wish I was as beautiful as those swans up there." Wow. The weather started getting colder, and one day the Ugly Duckling was out trying to get food on the pond when it froze in place around him. He was very lucky because a kind person was walking past and helped free him from the ice. Well, the Ugly Duckling walked off after that, and he found a log to wait out winter in. There was some straw and some plants around, so he had stuff to eat, and the log helped keep the snow and the wind off of him. And that's where Ugly Duckling spent the winter, alone in his log. Well, soon enough, spring came, and the pond was bright green and beautiful. An Ugly Duckling decided to come out from his log, and he gave his wings a big stretch after being cooped up for winter. He went flap, 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 and he discovered he could fly. "Wow," he said, "I can fly." And as he flew up over the pond, he saw those 3 beautiful swans swimming in the lake. Well, Ugly Duckling decided to make his way back down to the ground, and he was watching the swans, and he caught sight of his reflection in the pond, and he didn't recognize himself. Why, he had white feathers now instead of gray, and his neck and his body were bigger, and he was graceful and beautiful. "Wow," he said, "I was never a duck. I was a swan. I was never ugly. I was just a little different." So the beautiful swan swam out into the lake to join the rest of the swans. And when he swam up, they were so excited and welcoming. And they told him, "Look at you. You look just wonderful. Come on over and we'll all swim together." And so the swan found his place and found his friends, and they all lived in a big group in the pond together, happily ever after. The Well, guys, I have to say, sometimes that story's pretty hard for me. I love that the ugly duckling gets a happy story afterwards, but it makes me really sad how mean some of the other animals were to him in the beginning, just because he was a little bit different. That's not very nice or very kind, is it, guys? So we should all remember that just because someone might look a bit different or act a bit different, why, that's not a reason to be mean or say unkind things. We want to be like the swans and be welcoming, regardless of how somebody looks. We want to make sure everyone feels welcome and like they have friends and be nice and kind, don't we, guys? All right. Well, thank you all for listening today. This is the end of story time for the week, but we're going to have a great activity for you in the link. And until then, let's go ahead and say our goodbye song until next week. Now remember, everyone, it's going to go goodbye, friends, goodbye, friends, goodbye, friends. It's time to say goodbye. Ready? Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. Goodbye, friends. It's time to say goodbye. Bye, everybody.